around the corner. Come on, let's go. To beat you up.
Turn around.
Like your mother's ugly?
Turn around.
Like your mother's ugly?
Same thing.
Oh, okay.
Same thing.
Oh, okay.
It's just big watch.
Yeah, okay. We could test her right now. Right now. Right now, ugly. Everything. Oh, you thought you was gonna see something ugly, bitch. You wasn't. But you wasn't. But you wasn't. But you wasn't. Same here. You see what's up? Same here. You see what's up? Oh, okay.
Hold on to your wigs, ladies and gentlemen, because the courtroom not only heated up, but also descended into complete anarchy. Have you ever witnessed a rapper sob uncontrollably as their man stands up to them? Yes, it just took place. Now it's the self-described Bronx bombshell, Remy Ma, who is pleading for forgiveness. And from her own husband, Papoose, rather than the judge. Just now, the man who formerly supported her through label flops and jail bids entered the witness box. Let's just say that loyalty departed. But hold on, it gets worse. We're talking about security pulling people out, screaming bouts in the corridor, and Remy just plain passing out in a fit of wrath. And who watched everything unfold as if it were a front row ticket at Summer Jam? That would be Jasmine Dior. Like, where's your regret, miss? Where's your sorriness? For example, where's your sorrow? I mean, I don't really care what I go through with no one in the end. I would never wish for somebody to pass away. I'm not concerned about any of that. For example, no one did anything to you. You're acting like you're upset about something, and you, a gremlin. Ice searing someone's unsightly behind. In front of a courthouse, you then act tough. We're going to jail, like, You've served time in prison. You certainly don't want to return, For example, why are we here, approach the corner. In reality, you're not, a tough. For example, the daughter of the guy Ray's son is accused of killing is insane, What were the secrets that Papoose disclosed? I knew this day would, Remy was heard murmuring, but why? Come. And why are people speculating that her family may not be the only ones affected by this trial? Get your popcorn, darling. It's not a trial. It is a takedown. And it is only beginning. So, bang. Remy Ma believed she was entering a courtroom to provide support. She treated her son like a proud ride-or-die mother. However, what did she enter? Oh, that was a ready-made broadcast meltdown. Because jaws dropped more forcefully than Ray's latest mixtape when that judge called Papoose to the stand and he really stood up. Not to mention that this is the same man who restrained her during her 6-year prison sentence. The same poet who composed love poetry came to visit devotedly and supported her through her darkest moments. He is currently providing testimony on behalf of the prosecution. When Remy's name was spoken, you could hear his soul departing her body. Wait him, she blinked again, and that's when things started to go wrong. The level of security increased. The cameras angled closer. Journalists began scrawling as if it were TMZ meets the police. The final betrayal plot twist that no one had planned was the picture of Papoose, motionless and expressionless, making his way to that witness box. Or did they? Let's go back. Here's the tea in case you arrive late to the mess. Jason J. Scott, the son of Remy Ma, is presently on trial for the alleged shooting death of Darius G.R.O.W.L.S, a parent, businessman, and, according to reports, someone who knew far too much. In 2021, the purported murder occurred in Queens. However, the case only recently blew up. Why? Because some anonymous video footage, GPS pings, phone records, and fresh digital proof all appeared out of nowhere. Can you guess who assisted the DA in obtaining those files? Yes, that section. According to rumors circulating through the courthouse hallways, Papoose had been silently assisting for months, providing timeline confirmation, location data leaks, and even insight into behavioral patterns that prosecutors say demonstrate Remy's assistance. Conceal the offense. We'll let you determine if that's factual or simply some spicy legal fiction. Let's be honest, though. Isn't it betrayal on a whole other level if your spouse, who is more familiar with your calendar than you are, starts sharing it with individuals who are attempting to lock up your child? The courtroom was full. Influencers, journalists, and elderly adversaries from high school who merely wished to see her fail. Everyone was present. At one point, even Fat Joe poked his head in, but he bounced back when it became too cluttered. You could feel the temperature change as soon as Papoose raised his hand to swear in. Remy's expression went blank as if her internal playlist had been turned off. There were rumors that she mouthed, "Why?" The victim's daughter, Jasmine Dior, was seated in the front row, glaring down at Remy like she was the antagonist in a Tyler Perry finale, so she was unable to finish. Let's not overlook the identity of Jasmine Dior. Since the beginning, she has been outspoken, exposing industry cover-ups and requesting that her father receive justice. However, she brought fire today. Papoose smirked, lifted her chin, and took out a notepad as soon as she began talking. Rumor has it that she wasn't merely there to watch. She was anticipating the meltdown, and it came cold. Papoose started off his testimony by a cool, collected voice. Just facts, no feelings. Or what he referred to as facts, yes, when Jace returned home that evening, I was at home. Indeed. The argument earlier that day was something that Reminisce knew about. Yes, I told them both to keep silent until legal assistance could be obtained. Hold on, what? The magistrate bent forward. Because of what Papoose had just said on the record, which implicated her in obstruction of justice, the DA grinned, and Remy let out a loud scream as if reality had finally hit her in the chest. Not merely poor parenting, not merely affront for her son, but outright manipulation. She attempted to get to her feet, said something to her attorney, but the atmosphere escalated when the judge signaled for silence. Across the courtroom, she reportedly mouthed, "You promised me." He simply looked down and continued speaking without flinching. The actual dagger then appeared. According to Papoose, a week following the murder, Remy Ma allegedly paid $20,000 to an unidentified individual who was connected to the G.R.O.W.L case. Hush money, diversion money, and damage control money are implied. The suggestion hung in the air like cheap perfume, but no one stated it directly. The whole courtroom went crazy as Jasmine Dior abruptly got up and yelled, "Tell them about the burner phone, Papoose." Security sprang into action. People let out a shout. As if they were machine guns, cameras clicked. And she didn't move. Remy. As if she had just seen a ghost, she sat motionless, her eyes wide open and her hands clenched. At that point, the court declared a recess. People rushed out to phone their editors, reporters sprinted. And Remy Ma fell back in her seat. Unable to breathe. Was unable to cry. Simply sat there, inconsolable. The drama didn't end there, though. Oh no. The corridor became a battlefield. While Remy Ma was being led, Jasmine Dior made sure to follow her out by security. "This isn't over," witnesses claim, as Jasmine screamed. "Your son took my father. Now your husband's taking your legacy." Remy whirled around, and for a brief moment, it appeared as though she was about to throw hands, but she mumbled something icy instead. "We thought things couldn't get any messier," recorded Remy on the phone shortly after she stepped outside. Yelling, "Tell my lawyer to pull every email, every message. If he desires, he's got war." The million-dollar question is, who is she referring to? Papoose, the DA, or someone higher up? Rumor has it that this whole situation goes beyond a simple betrayal of family. There are whispers of underground connections, sealed records, and payments that can be linked to industry. Amidst the chaos outside the courthouse, a black SUV with tinted windows and no license plates pulled up, and a tall man in a gray suit emerged. Executives are circulating, and some believe this trial could be the start of a much larger takedown that could rock the hip-hop world from the inside out. Remy Ma paused in the middle of her statement, her face went pale, and she jumped into the car and vanished without a word. The internet is now in a tailspin as fans wonder who that man is and why she left so abruptly up fast. And more significantly, the moment she changed sides. Imagine this: Remy Ma, just out of a courtroom ambush by her own husband, breaks down emotionally, then gets into a black SUV driven by a man she obviously knows. She then disappears from the public eye for more than 5 hours, leaving no one to know where she went. No calls, no Instagram stories, not even a vague tweet, radio silence until a few hours later, when a leaked audio recording, purportedly taken from inside that very SUV by an anonymous driver, who, let's face it, was most likely bought off by someone with too much time and too few morals, hit the blogosphere like a nuclear bomb. "He won't ruin me," Ma is heard saying. "Not after all that I had concealed for him." The internet went into full meltdown mode when she said, "Now, who precisely is he?" Some say she was talking about Papoose, while others say it was a direct reference to her son, Jace, and the tinfoil hat group. Oh, the plot just fell apart, and if you thought Papoose's testimony was betraying him, wait until you hear what he discovered. It is said that the night after the murder, Papoose borrowed Remy's laptop to send a verse to a producer, but instead of a beat folder, he discovered a zip file named PRVT_evidence_J. I believe she meant an exact tied to a label dispute back in 2020. There were audio recordings, screenshots, and what looked to be transaction logs inside, which may have been connected to hush money paid to a woman who was allegedly an eyewitness that night in Queens. What's more bizarre is that one of the communications was labeled, "Tell Jace to stay low. Curiosity destroyed the trust." I understand your thoughts now. Is any of the blogs went into overdrive, and the word PRVT_evidence_J trended more than any of Ray's singles this decade? Meanwhile, back at the courthouse, Jasmine Dior wasn't slowing down. This confirmed? Of course not. That's the beauty of leaked information. In front of a sizable audience of fans, she went live on Instagram and declared, "This is bigger than my father. I can assure you that they attempted to buy my silence, but they were unable to do so. This is about the truth." She took out what she said was the burner phone, the same one she had yelled about in the mic dropped. And guess what? It contained voicemails. One of them was particularly chilling, a distorted voice that seemed to be Remy Ma's saying that they couldn't link it to Jace since, he was wearing gloves. The audience was shaken. Fans began attacking Remy in the comment section, saying things like, "This ain't the woman we rode for during that jail bid." Others said that it was all a setup, that Jasmine Dior was being used, that the phone was planted, and that Remy was being framed. However, it's important to remember that Papoose hasn't yet refuted any leaks. Papoose actually gave the DAA backup drive 2 weeks ago. That's a digital dagger or a breakup present, depending on your perspective. Speaking of treachery, what about the people Remy once referred to as friends? Fat Joe posted a vague statement on Twitter that read, "I pray for all involved. Some wounds don't heal." Huh? Is that hip-hop code for she messed up bad? Yes, Nicki Minaj said. The Barbs, of course, ate that up, but the story wasn't finished yet. Later that same evening, 3 prominent hip-hop news pages received an enigmatic Dropbox link. This was the same Nicki who once traded barbs with Remy, posting a single unicorn emoji with a scale emoji. There was no caption, no context, just shade. Let's pause for a moment. Did Papoose know about the murder before it even happened? Did he witness it, or worse, assist them in escaping? It included a blurry security cam clip from a gas station, dated the night of the murder, showing a car that looks like the one Jace was allegedly driving parked next to a black SUV registered to her. "This is where things get out of hand." In the footage, a voice says, "Tell your pops to turn off the dash cam." Indeed, just minutes before the bullets that murdered Darius G.R.O.W.L were recorded, at 11:47 p.m., Papoose's halo began to slip. Some people think he flipped to another insider who says she worked PR for Ray's team back in 2019, said she's preparing a sealed countersuit not just against Papoose but against the city. Others believe he was trying to clean up his own mess before the feds came knocking, but in any case, Remy isn't just angry, she's ready to scorch earth. She is not alone in her suffering, as sponsors have begun to withdraw from her projects. A sneaker collaboration was postponed, her planned podcast relaunch was removed from the network website, And one label executive even revealed that Love and Remy, a reality spin-off series in the works, is on indefinite hold because of legal sensitivities, but it gets worse, you know. Just before the courthouse closed for the night, a huge delivery van pulled up, and a representative from a high-end florist brought out a huge bouquet for Jasmine Dior. The card for your strength is anonymous, but word on the street now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the envelope in the courtroom. According to sources, Remy Ma's lawyer discreetly gave a sealed envelope to the judge's clerk while everyone else was preoccupied with testimony and screaming matches, and no one knows what was inside, but that envelope apparently prompted an emergency conference call between the DA, the judge, and Ray's defense team. Cameras were not permitted inside, and there were no notes or recordings. A court sketch artist claims to have seen the words "for your eyes only" printed in red on the front. Drama check, intrigue double check. However, all subsequent witness evidence was postponed for 48 hours following the meeting. As if things couldn't get any wilder, a former producer from Remy's past emerged from the shadows with a mysterious video, claiming, "I was with her the night before the murder." She continued talking about loose ends and was in a frenzy. "It was only now that I understood what she meant." Is he pursuing clout? Indeed, you already know that the internet is consuming it anyhow. As public pressure grows, demonstrators outside the courts are calling for justice for Darius G.R.O.W.L.S. While Remy admirers, with one side screaming justice and the other screaming setup, the Remy hive has begun trending #release Remy Ma once more. But what about Jace? The man at the center of it all hasn't said a word, no interviews, no leaked film, no jail notes, but some claim he's making a bargain. The next day is the last testimony session before pre-verdict deliberations start, and the prosecution just subpoenaed Ray's private therapist because apparently someone told them that Remy confessed to failing to prevent a violent act. Some claim he's being protected, but until he speaks or breaks, the guessing game goes on. Just bad optics, it's legal dynamite. To recap, Remy Ma's entire life has fallen apart more quickly than a lace front in a downpour. Her son is facing prison time, her husband betrayed her, the public is split, and now the prosecution has subpoenaed her private therapist. Court insiders say the therapist was called in to confirm whether Remy Ma ever expressed knowledge of the murder beforehand, or worse, if she confessed to orchestrating a cover-up. The gag she allegedly made was one statement that reportedly left the courtroom frozen. It's serious when therapy sessions go from healing trauma to being used as evidence. Jace's sobbing confession was transformed into an indirect admission of guilt with just one line. "I advised him to keep calm since I didn't think it would go that far." And guess who was there, locked in taking notes like a federal agent in disguise? Jasmine Dior, who had the same intensity as "Hold on, it gets messier." The therapist was halfway through her testimony when a bailiff rushed in with a sealed document. The judge opened it, read it for about 15 seconds, and then recessed the court. This person had been doubted for too long and finally had the last laugh. Warning, no explanation, and then the rumors began to circulate. Two unnamed sources, who were likely interns without NDAs and using iPhones, claimed that the document was a wiretap transcript, and that Remy Ma's voice was unmistakably clear. The feds had reportedly been monitoring her activities for months, and just chose to play their last card. According to the transcript, Remy is heard saying, "If they press him too hard, he'll fold," in a conversation with an unidentified male voice that is thought to be an industry fixer connected to several payoffs. This must be buried before it reaches the courtroom. She didn't mention names, but she wasn't required to. The public, the blogs, and the courtroom had already made the connection, and then it happened. Unexpectedly, Papoose returned to the courtroom as a final rebuttal, not as a witness, and asked to make one more statement for the record that he was given permission, and the room went silent. "I loved that woman more than life, and I stood by her when no one else would, but when I discovered that she had used me to help hide things I never committed to, I had to make amends." He stood up and, for the first time in this entire circus, exhibited emotion. His voice cracked. He hesitated, then said, "Jace isn't innocent, but he's not the only one who should be held accountable." Remy Ma got up, opened her mouth, and then started crying. We're talking full breakdown, body shaking, knees. The internet continued to scroll, TikTok exploded with edits, YouTube live streamed fake legal experts breaking it down, and Remy Ma began trending more than anything she had released since 2008. The judge had to order a brief recess to allow her to gather herself. When the court resumed, her defense team pulled their last prank, arguing that the wiretap was unlawful and that it violated attorney-client privilege because it took place during a discussion about legal strategy. However, the judge didn't believe them, rejected the motion, and admitted the transcript into evidence. Boom. Meanwhile, outside the scene, there were protesters on both sides, fans holding posters that said Remy is innocent, others calling for justice for Darius, and somewhere in the center, Jasmine Dior stood with her mother, holding a framed picture of her father. Without uttering a word, the prosecution didn't hold back during the closing comments. This isn't just a story of a mother standing up for her son. It's a case of purposeful manipulation, bribery, and obstruction of justice, all planned by someone who believed that her notoriety made her untouchable. The internet held its breath as the defense relied heavily on sympathy, saying things like, "Yes, mistakes were made, but show us one parent who wouldn't move heaven and earth to protect their child. Don't punish a mother's fear. Don't let grief cloud the facts." The jury was then excused to deliberate. Subreddits were ablaze with conspiracy theories, people were riveted to live streams, and the jury returned 3 hours later, the quickest deliberation in the history of the courthouse. Did the judge already make up his mind, or was this all a show? The four of them rose up and read the verdict, and as everyone braced for impact, Papoose closed his eyes and remained motionless. Scott was found guilty on all charges, and Remy gasped. Remy Ma was found guilty of accessory to murder, but not guilty of obstructing justice or tampering with evidence. The courtroom erupted once more, but this time it was in disbelief rather than chaos. Half of the audience cheered, the other half sobbed, and Remy Ma collapsed once more, exactly like on the first day, but this time it was over. The judge ordered her to be held pending sentencing, and she screamed, "No, no. I was trying to protect my baby, but it didn't matter." Her lawyers didn't even protest when the shackles were removed, and she turned to Papoose in tears as they released her. "You are supposed to love me through anything," she said. "I didn't win today," Jasmine Dior stated outside the courthouse after he remained silent for a while. "At least someone has finally paid the price for the loss of my father." Oh no. There's still another twist just when you thought we were finished. Now missing is the driver of that black SUV, the identical one in which Remy vanished. Vanished into thin air. Turn off the phone, clean the apartment, and erase the security footage. Officials are describing it as odd that it's being referred to as suspicious on social media. As if that wasn't crazy enough, late that evening a burner voicemail appeared on a hip-hop podcast. This was never about Jace. Check the contracts. Follow the cash. The real power doesn't stand trial, said a robotic voice before cutting off everyone. So, what do you think actually happened? Was Remy Ma just a scared mother caught in a maelstrom of treachery and poor decisions, or was she the mastermind of a cover-up that went completely out of control? Did Papoose act morally, or did he sell her out to protect his own interests? Skin? And what about Jasmine Dior? Is she finally receiving the justice her father deserves, or is she just a pawn in a much larger game? This trial has revealed much more than just a murder. It has revealed an industry that depends on secrecy, clandestine information, and if you thought this was the end, you're mistaken. Remy Ma will be watching and will be spilling all the tea. The internet, isn't letting this one go. So, stay tuned because sources indicate there's still more to come. More footage, more leaks, and maybe, just maybe, more arrests. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate on that notification bell so you don't miss another breakdown.